starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome in everybody to a Thursday night edition of the Joe Quill Show. And if you're watching on, if you're watching tonight and you're seeing the banners, I did screw up, so I'm going to try to fix it a little bit here for a couple of different places. So I won't be able to fix it on the Bleacher Brothers pages, but I will be able to fix it on mine. So it is Thursday, January 9th, not Wednesday, Wednesday the 8th. So I do apologize for that. I'm going to fix that. So at least on my channel. So, but it is a Tuesday and Thursday, and I'm like all over the place right now. That I do apologize for that because of the fact that I was running late tonight because they did have um, I did have a union meeting here tonight, and it was just a Zoom call, um, but in the end, it was just um, let me just do one thing here. So anyway, so we got a lot to talk about here. We'll get the Philly Phade here. I don't know if we're going to get to all the topics tonight here because we have a hard out for um, 11 o'clock tonight. So just want to let you know that as well because of the fact that Captain Ron will be on after me tonight. So uh, so if you just to let you guys know ahead of time so that you know you see something on here and you say, well, you didn't talk about this or that. I'll be like, yeah, I know, but it is a little something here. So let me fix this here. So, okay, so I did fix that. So Twitch, my personal Twitch is fixed. Let me fix my YouTube. But down there on the bottom of the screen, what we're going to be talking about here tonight. Um, um, Let me see here. How do I fix this here? But yeah, you can tell it's one of those days already. So, okay, so we're updated on my YouTube um and on my Twitch. So let me just do one thing on the Bleacher Brothers Twitch, YouTube. I mean, so I do apologize for this because things did get a little bit um, uh, things got a little screwy here today. and it won't let me fit everything on there. Oh, well, I could do it this way. So, all right, so let's get to it here on this Thursday night here, and I do apologize once again. So, coming up, we'll talk about what's going on in LA. Unfortunately, the fires are still going on, and it's getting worse and worse. The Lakers game tonight was postponed, uh, and more. So we'll get to that as well. Um, um, so we'll talk about that. Um, the Vikings Rams game. I have an update on that. Uh, More firings in Vegas. Zay Flowers, update on him. The TGL Golf League. I'll ask you what you think about that. Um, Frank uh, Kirk Cousins is the going to be the QB2 in Atlanta next year. I'll give my thoughts on that. And Frank Wycheck, there was an update with his passing last year. So a lot to talk about here, and I'm glad that you're here tonight. I do apologize once again. I did have a union meeting tonight, and um, I mean, it isn't anything that was. Oh, we got the Philly Fade too, so don't forget about that. So once we hit like 10:30 or so, we'll go to the Philly Fade, and then we'll work our way back. So, um, but some of the things that we had some things we had to discuss there. It was an impromptu meeting, and I'm not going to divulge in it because I don't even want to divulge on my company, redacted company, because I like to keep some of those things private. Um, but some of the so that was the last second thing. I knew that was going to happen. I had to take notes in case somebody had questions and stuff like that. Um, so I had to do a couple different things there. So it ended up that I had I got the meeting got done by like 8:30, but I did want to eat before I started the show tonight. So, because I like dinner. So so that's why we're a little late today, but we're all good here. So, but I'm glad that I'm here tonight with you guys, and and prayers go out to the people that are affected by those crazy wildfires in California right now, in the LA area. Um, Trying to keep track of everything, and um, you know, just it's crazy. I mean, when the fires have gone through that area, it almost looks like uh, the whole area got bombed. But it's a sad thing, and they will rebuild, and it's I mean, who knew this would be? I mean, who knew that something like this could happen? And of course, and we're not going to get into this topic in terms of political stuff because I don't want to do any political stuff here because we are not a politics show. But we're gonna, and of course, if you go on certain platforms, you'll hear, "Oh, it's climate change." No, it's not climate change. It's this, and that. Well, I think in some regards it is. In some regards, you can say different things as well. So you can argue both ways, um, but I do believe that climate change is involved. But I also believe that there is some negligence involved as well. So I'll listen to both sides of the argument, but I know what I believe, and I'm not gonna force it on you. I mean, that's the great thing. We can have uh, a discussion and go from there. So, but we see it affecting the sports world here, and I admit, um, you know, even though you have, um, even though you have something like this happen, which like I said yesterday, it does happen in January, but it doesn't happen often. It's more over the summer months, but Um, but something as tragic as this brings things into perspective with with games and stuff like that because if you think about it, sports really are not everything, and I just think that you know life is more human life is more important than a game. Even though we may get out of we might forget that every once in a while, and um but I think this is, I mean, even though, I mean, I hope this sounds okay, and if it doesn't, I apologize. But um, it's a good reality check for us to say that what we see on the basketball court, on the ice, on the football field, on the baseball field, on the soccer pitch, it's all just a game, and there's much more important things to worry about. But like for example, we'll get to the first portion of the LA wildfire update here. Um, and this is something that came out within the last hour or so. And it's no surprise to me, but the NFL has moved the Vikings Ram game to Arizona due to the fires. And, um, I think that, the NFL did the right thing. Um, you're going to, when you look at SoFi Stadium, you say, well, that's a dome stadium, isn't it? Well, technically it is, and technically it isn't because it's an open air stadium with just a roof over it. But, you know, I think even when we get to the Lakers game as well being postponed, the one thing I have to remember is, and I know this from when the Canadian forest fires, the Canadian wildfires, when those winds were blowing all the way down here to the northeast portion of the United States. Um, I mean, for example, once you get it in your house, forget it. It stinks ungodly, and also it's unhealthy as well. That's why they have those air quality indexes that they have, and um, you know, and also with an indoor stadium, like a true indoor stadium, whether it's the Crypto.com Center, the Intuit Center, the um, you know SoFi, even though it isn't technically a completely closed dome stadium, in my opinion, you're still opening the door to get people in, and you're closing the door afterwards. And even that little time that the door is open, people are getting in, and so is that dirty air. I mean, I we can call it dirty air, right, without getting ourselves into trouble. So, but there's much more important things to worry about, especially if you're especially if you're a member of one of those teams that play in Los Angeles right now. I mean, it's tough for both the Rams and the Chargers because they're both getting ready for the first round of the playoffs. The Rams were preparing for a game at SoFi. Now they're going to be in Arizona. Um, I imagine that that in the short term for the weekend to make sure everybody's safe, like maybe family, like wives, girlfriends, whatever. I'm sure they'll probably be on the plane as well, um, but out of public interest of public safety, as wildfires continue to rage in Southern California, the game was moved to Arizona. It was originally supposed to be in Inglewood at SoFi Stadium at 8 o'clock on Monday. It'll be at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, same time. So it's just that now the Vikings know which direction their plane is going. Instead of LA, it's going to Glendale. Um, Now, the league had said earlier in the week that there was a contingency plan in place if the game had to be moved. And the NFL did say the article that I mentioned, I think either yesterday or the day before, they did talk about moving the game. I mean, they do have contingency plans for everything, so it isn't like something out of the blue. They do have contingency plans, but it's it's like the contingency plans are like hidden in Fort Knox or whatever. So it's like, you know, what are the contingency plans? You're not going to know until we need to tell you. We're not telling you. And I'm sure even the contingency plans can change as well because a couple of times when a hurricane was going through Florida, like one of the options that they gave was, oh, well, we could move the game to Philadelphia. The Eagles don't play a game there that weekend, and Phillies are on the road as well, blah, blah, blah. But, there's contingency plans. I think that they would even update the contingency plans depending on, what stadiums are available for that particular weekend. So, um, now, a few hours earlier today, before the announcement, another fire broke out in an area several miles from the Rams training complex in the Woodland Hills neighborhood, leading them to cancel its scheduled player media availability. Um, Now, the other LA-based team, the Chargers, they're also readying for their game this weekend, but they play on the road in Houston. Both the Rams and Chargers practice outdoors. Smoke was visible from the field at the Rams facility. Players, coaches, and staff have been affected by the fires. Fortunately, to my knowledge, no one had been injured, according to Sean McVay. Um, Chargers had their final practice today. They were minimizing time outside, especially because they don't have an indoor facility. Um, and they describe it as a uh, dystopian scene here, where the skies were burnt orange, ashes flew around the field, and many players were wearing masks to get through the practice while they were, despite the conditions. Um, Jim Harbaugh said that he followed the suggestions of experts in altering practice so players were outside roughly 45 minutes, which is half the typical time they practice outside. Harbaugh said they didn't consider flying to Houston early for practicing. Um, he did say our guys did a great job improvising and adjusting, and really we were able to get as close as we possibly could to what normal practice would look like. But maybe that is something to consider this weekend when you're looking at the games that neither of these teams, especially Chargers, they didn't get a full practice in. Um, Speaking before the NFL announced the location change for the Vikings Rams game, the Vikings player rep Harrison Phillips, who's a defensive lineman, said. Um, um, He said the league should be conscious of the optics of playing the game in Los Angeles, juxtaposing it with the NBA postponing the Lakers game against the Hornets scheduled for Thursday night or for tonight. Well, he said Thursday night, but um, Phillips noted that the Lakers play in an indoor facility and SoFi is open air. Well, I will even say that even if it's open air, even if it is a completely closed stadium like Crypto.com, you do have to open the doors to let people in and shut the doors again, and you are bringing that in a little bit. So it isn't. So you're not going to have the perfect. You're not going to have optimal air conditions, as opposed to air conditioning. You won't have the optimal conditions. So now I'm sure there's air filtration and stuff like that, but walking the concourses, I would say that it'd still be very uh, very unhealthy. But that's just me thinking here. Um, but that game got moved there to Arizona, and it's the right thing to do. You can't delay the game, especially because it's the playoffs. But all you can do is hope that um, those uh, in the LA area, they you know, thoughts and prayers to them, and you hope that they get through this somehow, and also, just get get this, get by this, and hopefully the fires can be put out as soon as possible. Um, but I'm not going to go into the politics of this, so please don't talk about the politics that is involved with this. So, but now JJ Redick did lose his home in the fires. Now it was a rental property, but still was what he was calling home while he was coaching the Lakers. So the NBA did postpone that game Thursday night for Thursday's game between the Lakers and Hornets because of the massive wildfires. Um, Now, over 5,300 homes were destroyed, including the home of Coach JJ Redick. Um, Sham Charania of ESPN said the rental home in Pacific Palisades was one of the structures lost in the biggest of multiple fires raging across the LA metropolitan area this week. Um, Redick acknowledged the threat to his home on Tuesday before the Lakers game against the Mavericks in Dallas, saying the members of his family are among those forced to evacuate homes in the area. Steve Kerr, the Warriors coach, he lost his childhood home in Palisades. His 90-year-old mother, Ann, is safe and was evacuated. So, but it's really crazy stuff that they have going on there. And Thursday marked the second straight day a game was slated to be played in downtown LA and postponed. The Kings are supposed to play the Calgary Flames on Wednesday night. And now here's some irony here, and of course, trying to make, you know, trying to lighten things up here a little bit, but um, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they had a hockey game postponed against the Carolina Hurricanes because of a hurricane, and the Kings played were supposed to play the Flames last night, and because of the wildfires in the area, that game was postponed. So, um, but yeah, it's I mean, I know that's not funny, but it's weird that something like that would happen. Um, The Lakers said in a statement today that they're heartbroken for Los Angeles. Our thoughts and our thoughts with all those impacted by this unimaginable situation, and our gratitude is with the first responders and all of you who come together when we need each other the most. Tonight's game will be rescheduled to focus on what matters most today, and rightfully so. I mean, how can how can you enjoy a game, watch a game, even just watch without enjoying it? I mean, I had a situation like that watching a game where I was dead to the world after something happened to me. Um, but you go through this, and um, it's just crazy what's going on out there, and um, it's crazy stuff. Um, but it's you got to realize that in tragic situations like this, you have to you 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 start realizing uh, what what things are like. So, best thing I can say is, all we can do is thoughts and prayers right now. Um, you know, be charitable with the causes here. Make sure it's a reputable charity. Don't because I know with every reputable charity that's out there, I'm sure there's 10 to 20 of them, 10 to 20 charitable drives, which it'll just be total BS. So just make sure you give to those reputable charities so we can help those in need right now. So, but I would definitely say that. So, um, So, but yeah, it's definitely something that's really going on that really. Uh, but just give me an idea of the fires in LA. Um, about 180,000 people are under evacuation orders. Fires consumed about 45 square miles, which is roughly the size of San Francisco. That's a lot. And the Palisades fires are already the most destructive in LA history, with 5,316 structures destroyed as of Thursday afternoon. So, but it's very, very sad what's going on out there. And the one thing I would say to you guys is, uh, you know, give the thoughts and prayers, and also um, give some, and if you can, be as charitable as you can right now, because there are a ton of people in need right now. So, but and there's no real way that we can segue off of this to my next topic here. And this is um, you know, and sometimes um, you just try to move on with things, and uh, try to get things um, away from this and onto other topics here. And I probably should have made this into had more of a sorbet for this, but but even this is, I mean, in a way, you don't want to talk about people losing jobs and all that, but Tom Telesco, the GM for the Raiders, he was let go today by Vegas. Um, he was fired after 1 year. It came 2 days after the team fired Antonio Pierce. Um, you know, the one thing I will tell you guys is, if I'm if I am looking at things like this, the one thing I would say is, don't string somebody along if you're going to fire them. And I think this is right around the borderline that you start to get into that strung along feeling with a firing like this. But it's a tough thing, and but um, the Raiders said in a statement, "We appreciate his efforts in helping to build a foundation for the future. We wish Tom and his family all the best." And it's a I think that both are culpable in not drafting a quarterback, or not doing what they could to improve the team. And you know you have to scapegoat somebody, and it's usually the coaches and the general managers, and that's what's happened here. um, the Raiders finished 4-13. They had an unsettled quarterback situation. Tedesco had signed Gardner Minshew to a 2-year $25 million contract with $15 million guarantee. Minshew began as the starter, but was benched for Aiden O'Connell after 5 games. Minshew and O'Connell both had injuries during the season, which also forced them to start Desmond Ritter. So a lot of injuries as well. But you had a team that really wasn't doing anything all year. So um, Tedesco was hired last year on January 23rd, less than 6 weeks after he was fired, along with Brandon Staley, following a 63-21 loss to the LA Raiders. So, or Las Vegas Raiders, I should say. LA Raiders. Geez, that's like 2-3 teams ago. So, um, but yeah, so um, yeah, it is a um, it is a they now have to go for not only a head coach, they also have to go for a general manager here. And and I did mention to you guys yesterday that um, some teams looking at um, are looking at Bill Belichick and testing to see if he really wants to coach at North Carolina. But it looks like he does so far. But the one thing I did not mention yesterday that I will mention tonight, if Bill Belichick were to leave North Carolina to go to, let's say, the Raiders, and I don't have any knowledge of, him doing things like that. The one thing I would tell you guys is that when you when you look at this and you start to hear these rumors that, oh, maybe Bill Belichick will go to um, back to the NFL. Well, first of all, you have to realize that you're dealing with you have to w- have to work your contract. And North Carolina was smart by putting in a $10 million buyout in his clause. So it isn't like you have a um, you know you made sure that he's going to be there at least for a year, because he is so close to getting the most wins by a coach in NFL history. He's only 13 behind. He could say, well, guess what? This year wasn't as good as I thought it would be. I'm going back to the NFL. See ya. So, but once the summer hits, that buyout goes from 10 million to 1 million. Um, so you do have to keep that in mind, um, but you do have a lot of, you know, you got to realize that maybe you just say, but I think I but the one thing you have to remember is, and Jets fans know this because they were they dealt with this for the last they dealt with this for 20, 25 years. Bill Belichick was the coach of the New York Jets for about 24 hours. After 24 hours, he said, "See ya. I'm not coaching here," and he ended up in New England the next day. So I think that I I personally think that if you're recruiting like he has been, and he was in North Jersey today, he was in um, wherever he was during the week when he was on the Pat McAfee show. He was in the driver's seat. His son was riding shotgun. Um, you have to, it he is doing the work that a college head coach is doing. His son is helping him out as well, and I'm sure his other assistants, and hopefully he has um, assistant coaches that will also do recruiting as well, as in they know what they're doing with this. Not only they can do their thing, but they can also help out Bill, because Bill Belichick. I mean, he is a smart guy, but he's not experienced with the whole process. So, um, but yeah, it's a tough thing that's going on. I mean, let me rephrase that. You know, I mean, I know the temptation is there, but you know, did he just jump at the chance because, oh, they really want me in North Carolina? Did he really do it because of that, or was he doing that because, oh, I'll use this to get back to the NFL? And maybe he does use it to get back to the NFL in a year, but we'll see what he does this year. And I can tell you one thing: uh, all the North Carolina games, if there was anything that, even if there wasn't anything, a game where North Carolina would usually sell out, I'm sure North Carolina will sell out now because guess what? You got Bill Belichick on the sidelines. I would at least think that they would have someone like him on the sidelines there for the game. So at least that's what I would think. But you know, things can change, and but you talk about past history, and Bill Belichick did that once in the past, and who knows, he might do it again. But I think that he is going to be a college head coach for at least 1 year. Now, it may be the full 5, it may not be. But, and also he probably got his girlfriend free education there because he's the head coach there at North Carolina. Who knows? But, we'll see what happens with everything there. So, but, you know, um, but let me just check one thing here. Um, mm, 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 mm. So I'm just looking to see if the Raiders have. Um, yeah, it doesn't look like the Raiders. Well, the Raiders do have interview requests. They don't have any. Um, they do not have any GM requests because obviously this was just done. So, but they're in the opening stages of that, and they're putting together their list right now. They got Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Todd Monken, Robert Sala, and Steve Spagnuolo. Some of the names that you would expect to be in this cycle. So, um, and they fit the Rooney Rule with Aaron Glenn and Robert Sala. So, but you do have that, and I just yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with all these moves, and also remember, face-to-face meetings are not allowed until January 20th. So that may give some of those coaches in that are in the playoffs a better opportunity to get a head coaching job now, even though it's not unprecedented that a team that has played in an NFC or AFC championship game or a Super Bowl get hired after their team has been eliminated or has won the championship. I mentioned Frank Reich. I mentioned Shane Steichen. I mentioned Jonathan Gannon. These things do happen from time to time. And, unfortunately for the Eagles, it's happened to them the last 2 times they were in the Super Bowl. Uh, so yeah, it's all about, you know, making sure you get the right guy there. And, I just don't know what you would expect from somebody like Bill Belichick. Will he stay in North Carolina? I think he does. I mean, you know, you you make that jump. I mean, you figure he's going to be there, and he may be there the whole time. Who knows? But you do have those buyout clauses in his contract as well. So it's not anything that they would. I mean, I mean, I'm sure he'll get tempted, and I'm sure he'll probably say, "No, I'm not going." So that is the news there um, with that. One other thing that this is more along the LA Fire side, the LA Fire comment. Santa Anita, they've canceled their Friday card, and they're going to run that this Thursday, the 16th, over the air quality caused by the massive wildfires in LA County. Um, the 10 race program will be conducted without being redrawn. So, so just to let you guys know there that because I mentioned Santa Anita, last night with some of the stuff that's going on, and um, it is something that I did want to mention. I Something came to mind as I was talking to you guys here. So, um, but so let's get into some more football talk here, and um, especially this weekend with the playoffs kicking off on Saturday afternoon between um, the Chargers and the Texans. The Texans, every time they've been in the playoffs, they've started in the wild card round, and they've always been the 4:30 game on Saturday, which is the first game in the playoffs. So, congrats to Houston for keeping that streak. And now the second game will be Pittsburgh and Baltimore, blood feud, one of the top rivalries in the NFL, if you ask me. And Pro Bowl wide receiver Zay Flowers was ruled out today, which is no surprise to anybody. Um, Zay Flowers injured his right knee, in the regular season finale last Saturday. He did not practice this week. Um, John Harbaugh said we'll see how it looks next week. Harbaugh said it'll be a group effort to absorb the loss of Flowers, and that's the case in all instances like that. Um, so Flowers led the Ravens with 74 receptions and 1,059 receiving yards, and he'll be out this week, and hopefully Ravens wise, they will be back next week. So just checking one thing here. Um, Let me. Okay, so okay, so even though I didn't have this planned here, I do have an Eagles update here for their game on Sunday, and as expected, and I pulled up the Eagles injury report here from earlier today. I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can see this here. I probably should be sharing stuff more often on here, but um, AJ Brown did not practice today. Uh, an issue with this knee, and they were also resting him. So, I think he plays, but we'll see. Kenny Pickett ribs limited. Lane Johnson rest limited. Will Shipley ankle limited. That's what LP stands for. But the most important note here that is worth looking at here is right here, second from the bottom. Jalen Hurts, concussion / left finger, full participant, FP. That's what FP stands for. So this is part of what they were planning all along. At least I would think, because the one thing is with the media, and a lot of times teams will, well, not necessarily teams, but like, if you have a major announcement you kind of don't want anybody to know about, you dump it right at 5 o'clock on Friday, so that, everybody's leaving work for the week, and things like that. You try to get it slid under the rug. Well, this was probably the next to last step, or the last step, between Jalen Hurts uh, being on the injury report and him being cleared from concussion protocol and playing on Sunday, which is a big thing. So, so that is that is big news today. And from what you could see even yesterday. And, limited is a relative thing, at least I would think. So, but, I would think that sometimes you would have a little bit of, a little bit of, you know, you're trying to limit him, and sometimes you're just practicing. You're trying to do as much as possible. I don't know if this is Jalen Hurts' first concussion in the NFL or first noted concussion, but um, they do have, um, he does have to pass the 5 stages, and obviously he's about to pass that final stage if he's full practice, because now what you do is you check to see, is he cleared to go? Does he have zero symptoms when he walks into the room, walks into the building tomorrow? If he has no issues, you will see probably middle of the day, and I'm sure it'll blow up my phone, between channel 10, channel 6, 29, um, ESPN. Jalen Hurts has cleared concussion protocol, and it'll be on the Eagles app too. So I'll probably get 5 alerts. Boom, 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 boom. But um, I would definitely say that, um, it does look like, um, that he will be cleared tomorrow from what we're seeing here today. And also, little bit of a um, little bit of a smoke screen as well. And I probably not the correct term to use considering everything that's going on out in the LA area. Ian Book was re-signed today to the practice squad, so you're sitting there and you're like, what? Is there something going on? But the fact that you see full participant with Jalen Hurts, that is a good sign. So, everything looks good for Sunday, and we do pick every Eagles game, and that will be part of the Philly Fade coming up later tonight. So, and just a reminder, we do have a hard out for 11 o'clock, because at 11 o'clock, um, um, let me see here. Mm, yeah, college football playoffs and semifinals with Captain Ron will be at 11 o'clock tonight. At least I think that's Captain Ron, but that'll be at 11 o'clock tonight. So, those that are watching on YouTube, you'll have to go from my channel or my video to his video. Whereas on Twitch, if you're watching, I'll send you over there. Um, so just to give you an update as well, Notre Dame has fought back. It's a 10-10 game, Notre Dame and Penn State. As you know, I did give you guys Penn State last night on the show. Um, and so there's 4 minutes left in the third quarter there, 4.5. So, um, so one thing I do want to say here is, well, this is probably the sorbet we needed earlier. We'll get back to the football in a second here. I don't know why I put this in and broke up all the football stories. Do a flip. There's no way in hell I can do a flip. But um, I don't know. And by the way, Jakey, welcome in. My name's Joe Quills. I'm with Bleacher Brothers. I do a show Monday through Thursday here. Uh, with the eponymously named Joe Quill Show. I also do a horse racing show on Saturday called Also Eligible, where we look at some races from around the country that are going to be going on this weekend. So, do want to welcome you into the show, and glad you're here tonight. Um, I probably should have had this, not had this broken up, but this is all part of me uh, getting all scatterbrained and everything with everything I had to do between when I got done work and when I ended up, um, ended up starting the show here late. But um, I missed this on Tuesday night, probably partially because I was on streaming with you guys, but the TGL Indoor Golf League, which is run by Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, that debuted on Tuesday night on ESPN, and they drew nearly a million viewers on ESPN, according to Nielsen numbers reported Thursday by Front Office Sports. Um, Now, I missed it, so I didn't see like the things that are going on, uh, and we'll talk about Tiger Woods with this and all that. So, um, the co-founders Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, their teams were not in action, but they did have a matchup last Tuesday or Tuesday night, 2 nights ago. It averaged 919,000 viewers during the 9 to 11 p.m. time slot. So, with the big board that they have, and think of it as um, a golf simulator on steroids. I mean, if that's a better term, because the screen is about 34 times the size of a regular screen, regular golf simulator. Um, you know, that's what that is. I have to remember that that's on Tuesday night, so probably need to put another post-it up, because I posted two post-its on my monitor here tonight because of things I had to do once I was done work. But um, now, just to give some perspective on these numbers here. Um, the 919,000 viewers, which, I'd be interesting to see how the ratings go next week, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Uh, it was a larger audience than any live golf broadcast on the CW. Not a surprise, because it's like, CW, what the hell is that? Is that CW McCall? No, it's not. It's the CW television network. Uh, any broadcast in 23 and 24, and also larger than last week's PGA Tour season opener, The Century, on the Golf Channel on NBC, according to Sports Media Watch. So I think some of it is, let me see what this potential disaster is going to be like. And, I haven't seen any reviews on it or anything like that. I didn't even know it was on, so I didn't even get a chance to look at Twitter or Facebook or anything after the fact. Um, but I would love to see what that was all about. But um, now, during the same window last year on ESPN, a Duke Pittsburgh basketball game, a men's college basketball game, drew 717,000 viewers. So I think the novelty of it bumped the ratings up versus Duke basketball. But um, I think it's a lot. It's novelty. Some of it was the fact that you had um, you had Tiger Woods being a part of this, and Rory McIlroy, and I think that they really want to see what this is before people invest, because okay, well, it's 9 o'clock. There ain't anything else on TV. Let's see what this TGL Golf League is. So and they do play 18 holes, but they play 9 holes, 3 versus 3. You know what? Let me see something. Let me see if I can find that video here. Explained. Okay, here it is. This is the video that they use on the Bleacher Brothers show last night. So I'll play that here for you. So let me do this and that. Let me share my screen here for you so you can see this. And it's that. All right, it's actually. Try this again. There we go. So here's the video that explains everything with the TGL. Here you go.
Let's talk golf. TGL Golf, a new 3-on-3 primetime golf league on ESPN. 6 teams from 6 cities, made up of the top players on the PGA Tour, will play in 2-hour weekly matches, culminating in playoffs and a championship. There are 2 sessions. The first, triples, a 9-hole 3 versus 3 alternate shot. The second, singles, 6 holes of players going head-to-head. Each hole is worth 1 point. If tied at the end, an overtime determines the winner. Set in a first-of-its-kind venue, the players hit into a massive screen, 20 times the size of a normal simulator screen, from up to 35 yards out. The short game will be played in an area larger than 4 basketball courts, on a tech-infused green with an adaptable surface to create hole-to-hole variations. TGL is also bringing to golf a shot clock, a ref, a timeout to ice the golfer, a hammer to raise the stakes, and the players are all mic'd up to get you in on the action.
This is TGL, presented by SoFi on ESPN.
So that is the explanation of the TGL. Ricky Fowler was the voice there, and I might have to check it out next week. Even as I'm watching this, I'll probably put it on here while I'm working, and it's something innovative. Probably something that we'll see if it takes off or not. And the reason why I said we'll see what the ratings are next week because um, the first match that features Tiger Woods will happen next week when his Jupiter Links Golf Club takes on LA Golf Club Tuesday at 7 p.m. on ESPN. McElroy's Boston Common Golf Club faces Woods' team on January 27th. Now, I think that they use the same simulator for both. I think they use the same simulator site for all 16. So, just to say that they're out of LA or anything like that, it's just dummy things. It was kind of like how the USFL was for the 2 years that they were around. They're playing in 1 or 2 cities, but we're still the Philadelphia Stars, for example. But you do see that. So that was definitely something I saw that was interesting, and you know, maybe it does take off, and maybe it's a dud. We'll see. But it's a 15 match regular season. It runs through March 4th, which is followed by playoffs later in the month of March. So, something different, and who knows? Maybe it takes off. Um, Back to the football here as we get back to football talk here. Kirk Cousins Apparently, the Falcons are ready to move on with him as one of the most expensive backups in NFL history. Now, the Falcons benched the quarterback in Week 16, if you remember, after a stretch of 5 games with 9 interceptions and just 1 touchdown. Rookie Michael Penix Jr., who is slated as the quarterback of the future, was thrust into the starting role over the final 3 weeks of the season, performed well, though the team missed the playoffs with an 89 record. But the one thing is, I will say about Michael Penix is, I mean, he does have that Michael Vick arm. He does have a gun for an arm. I mean, he doesn't have the legs because he's had multiple ACL injuries. But the one thing I would say is, with 3 games of actual gameplay video, 3 full games, that's usually when the top defensive coordinators can really notice tendencies of a quarterback. So be interesting to see what happens with Michael Penix at the beginning of the year next year. Um, but some of the things we know about Kirk Cousins: he signed with the Falcons in March, 4 years for 180. $90 million is guaranteed over the first 2 years. Penix was drafted number 8th overall. Um, he'll be the number 1 quarterback going forward. Now, Falcons general manager Terry Fontenot says the team is willing to keep him for another season as Penix's number 2. Now, does that mean you restructure the contract? Do you do this? Do you do that? That remains to be seen. But um, um, now, Fontenot did say that regarding to the cap hit and holding on to the quarterback on the bench, Fontenot said the Falcons have already allocated Cousins money on being on the books as the number 1. Fontenot said the expectations was to get high-level quarterback play for 2 seasons, and you got half a season out of Cousins. And Fontenot said that Cousins was healthy, and the steep fall-off in performance had nothing to do with the comeback from the torn Achilles. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. There's no way of really knowing, I don't think. But now, Adam Schefter had reported last month that they were going to cut him before March 17th when he was due a $10 million roster bonus. Now, Fontenot said Thursday that report is unfounded, but they could still cut him. It's all a matter of the cap hit. If the Falcons release Cousins before the start of the league year, they will get hit with a $65 million dead cap hit. $65 million in dead cap money coming from his fully guaranteed salary of $27 million and $37.5 million in the remaining proration per roster management system. If they cut him post June 1st designation, the dead money will spread over 25 and 26, 40 million in 25 and 25 in 2026. So you do have that, but you could still trade him even though he has a no trade clause in his contract. Cousins does have that no trade clause, and the one thing is with the no trade clause, basically all that is, when you see that, basically all that is Kirk, we know you want to play. We have 2 teams that are interested in you. We have Team A. Let's just say it's the Jets. We have the Jets, and we have the Raiders. Would you be willing to drop your no trade clause to go to one of these teams? Because basically, all a no trade clause really means is you got to tell me who is interested in me if I want to go there. That's all it is. I mean, some people will say, "You're not trading me, fucker." That does happen too, but you can use it as, hey, you can use it for that, or you can use it for something like being vindictive and saying, I'm not going anywhere. Kind of like how Derek Carr is being vindictive and saying, "I'm not renegotiating my contract." So that means he's probably going to get cut once the new year starts. So Notre Dame is up 17-10 on Notre Dame right now in the fourth quarter. So just to let you guys know, I don't have the game on because I do not watch Penn State athletics in my house. That is my choice, my house, my rules. I went through that last night. But I am keeping track with the tab on that right now. So, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Kirk Cousins. I think that you might have to trade him, but does he want to stay in Atlanta? Does he want to risk getting cut, especially as a June 1st designation, or does he just stay there? Or I mean, he's got control of everything here, so um, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. Now, one last story here before we get to the Philly fade here, and unfortunately, um, there was the uh, there was the news last year that Frank Wycheck passed away in his Tennessee home uh, when he fell. Uh, but the one thing is with the NFL is a lot of the players, especially those that do have concussion histories, they do donate their brain to science and they use it to for CTE research. And the only way CTE right now can be diagnosed is unfortunately after someone passes away. And his brain um, was sent to Boston University's CTE Center. I'm not going to even try to use the word that they use for it. Well, I'll say it. Encephalopathy. Now you see why I'm saying CTE and not the full name. But um, so he did suffer from CTE, which is a degenerative brain disease linked to repeated blows to the head at the time of his death just over a year ago. Wycheck's family confirmed the CTE diagnosis in a statement read Thursday, 13 months after the three-time Pro Bowler died from an apparent fall inside his home. Frank Wycheck, he is a local kid from the Philly area. He played at Archbishop Bryan High School, and it's an unfortunate thing that happened to him. So they studied his brain at the Boston University CTE Center. They concluded that he had stage 3 CTE, which his family mentioned. Stage 4 is the most severe diagnosis. Um, um, Now, Wycheck's daughter Deanna Wycheck Zabo said, "Our family is grateful to learn of his confirmed CTE diagnosis in hopes to continue our father's desire to bring awareness, increase intervention, education, and support for NFL alumni and their families related to CTE." Um, um, our hope is that the NFL alumni who believe they are suffering from CTE will be given the much needed resources and guidance prior to their symptoms reaching a debilitating state. With ongoing CTE research and diagnosis, we hope the future NFL alumni and families will be explicitly given an outline and plan of action in receiving care and treatment. And that's the thing. It's about treatment, and who knows? Maybe one day we get to the point where we can actually um, diagnose and treat because like some players that are out there, like for example, like Antonio Brown, perfect example. You see how mentally unstable he has been, and I mean, I'm sure he's had other head injuries or suspected head injuries, but once he got hit in that playoff game by Vontez Burfict, Pittsburgh against Cincinnati, he was going over the middle, and Vontez said, "Wham!" You know, you, I mean, looking back on it, you could say, yeah, that was the hit that changed him because, I mean, even though we can pretty much say most top wide receivers are prima donnas, and it's a little unfair to say, truthfully, but in a way, you know, a lot of wide receivers have that tendency of saying, "I want the ball. I'm open." Well, you weren't open. You had three guys on you. I'm still open. I could still catch it. Things like that, and it goes further up. But we saw like Antonio Brown. Like for example, when he quit in the middle of a game against the Jets, I believe it was. He stripped his shirt off. He took the uniform off, took everything off, took his shirt off, gave a deuce signal to the fans there in New York. The fans were cheering him and everything, egging him on. And, he left through the tunnel and never came back. Um, and he has erratic behavior even on Twitter. Um, but, you know, there's some cases where you can say, oh, he has CTE, but there's no way right now that they can diagnose it the same that you can diagnose the flu or COVID or, you know, bronchitis or anything like that. I mean, even the most mild of maladies compared to something as serious as CTE cancer you can diagnose, but like something like CTE right now, they really can't diagnose it until it's too late. But um, and hopefully they can do something that will the get the future alumni and current alumni the help that they need. Um, you know, and there's a reason why, even though the NFL, you can argue, doesn't necessarily um, doesn't necessarily um, care about the players because they want to have a 18th game eventually. And once they said they were going to have 17 games, you knew that an 18th game was coming because why do you have a regular season schedule with an odd amount of games? Because it would be so much easier when you have 18 games. You have 9 at home, 9 on the road. You don't have to worry about um, the 18. You don't have to worry about what team has the ninth game, which one doesn't. Which ones are on the road, which one are home. You don't have to worry about, well, this team only has 8 home games, so they get 2 preseason games at home. You don't have to worry with any of that stuff anymore. And I think eventually it's going to happen. That is going to happen, but you're also going to have to worry about hits, blows to the head, and stuff like that. So, and they're trying to do whatever they can. They have the guardian caps in the NFL now, and you have things like that. But you just have to realize that maybe you know maybe there's so much to this, but I just wonder, is there something that it's so much, it's crazy what's going on here. And um I just don't know. I'm hoping that eventually over time we can have like a simple test and be like, well, we're going to test you for this, and you take it to the lab and you find out in a couple hours to a couple days, yep, you have it. But unfortunately, you have erratic behavior. You have different things that happen, and it's it's uh it's a sad thing that's going on here. So, but uh, but we will go and uh, get off of some of these tough topics here. We'll get into the Philly Fade and Notre Dame, or I'm sorry, Penn State did score, so it's now a tie game. They scored a touchdown. Notre Dame threw an interception. Their first play, their next drive, Penn State's got the ball back, and they are on the they're on the Notre Dame 24, according to what I see here. So we do have that. So I do have the Philly Fade here. Penn State was my pick last night, even though that was a game where I would not have picked either side. If I was actually at a sports book, I would just say, good luck with that. I'll just watch and go from there. But so we're going to go to the Philly Fade here, and we are through. I'll pull it up on here. Through the first week, I am 2-3 on the season, 2-3 on the calendar year 2025. And when we look at the calendar year and how I break it down, I break down my monthly stats and my yearly stats by when that pick is given. So let's say we had a couple of picks that carried over into the new year. They went into the 2024 stats because of the fact that when even though it gets into that gray area, and I'm just like, you know what? Just for my record keeping, we're just going to do it as 2024. So we did have a couple of last picks of 2024 where we had, like for example, like I gave you Oregon over Ohio State. That was a loss, but that counts towards 2024 because that pick was given out on December 28th. And the Notre Dame game over Georgia, that game was that was a December game, even though it was played in January because of when it was given out. So, but we are in January, and last week we went 2-3. I tried to tackle some college basketball for you guys. I tried to poke the bear that was Chicago State. I tried to go for that low hanging fruit. Wagner was 8-5 or something like that. Chicago State was 0-15. It was the first time they were playing a game in the Northeast Conference after playing playing as an independent the last couple of years, and they upset Wagner. And I had told you guys to take Wagner -10. That was a loss. Lost 1.15 units on that. Then I told you to take Georgetown -1 over Xavier. That was a win. So we're a little under. Then my NFL picks, I told you to take Eagles and Giants, longest field goal under 48.5 yards. And I thought I was home on this. We got to the middle of the fourth quarter, and Brian Daboll's trying to get his ass fired. Despite the meetings that he had. And he basically said, we're not winning this game or whatever. And, or actually some of the things that they did actually worked out the way that they ass backwardsly planned things. So they had Graham Gano kick a 53-yard field goal, and it skimmed off the crossbar and in. So it was like, all right, well, that's a loss. So then I told you guys to take Miami -1. That was a loss. That's another -1.08. But I did tell you to take Arizona -4. They blew out San Francisco, so that's a +1 there. So I'm 2-3 so far in the young year, and I am at -1.23 units so far in 2025. So let me pull up DraftKings here. And the one thing is, even though I use DraftKings, I don't have a sponsor. If you're out there watching, even after the fact, and you do, and you're a sportsbook operator, especially some of the big boys like FanDuel, DraftKings, all those other ones, hit me up, hit AJ up, and who knows, maybe we can work on something. And Penn State has taken the lead 24-17, just to let you guys know. So let's get to college football here. And from what I am seeing, I have not seen anything about the Cotton Bowl. Now, what I mean by that is, uh, when you look at those games, um, well, when you look at the weather, they're supposed to get 4 to 6 inches of snow. And let me just pull up the weather app here so I can actually. Um, Let me see here. Okay, so it's 33 degrees and snowing in Arlington at the moment. Um, so it is supposed to stop within the next couple hours here. My app is not telling me how much snow they've had today, but uh, 1 to 3 inches of snow is expected. They had 0.75 inches of precipitation. I guess that's the liquid equivalent. Um, but the one thing I would say to you guys is there may be that they did have a contingency plan in place in case the roads are so icy that to they can't get to the stadium. Anybody can get to the stadium. So there was a contingency plan, but I haven't heard anything new on that. So it looks like the game is on. So um, now the one thing I did notice, the one thing I was thinking when we were thinking it was going to be Oregon just plowing through the field like we thought they would, which they didn't do. And the one thing I said was, the one thing I noticed was after that game against Ohio State, if Oregon had won, they would have been playing Texas in Dallas, which would be a road game. Which based on everything and the way they assign the way I think that they assign the bowls here for, and also the rotation stuff like that. Um, they gave Notre Dame and Penn State the Orange Bowl because the number 2 team was Georgia, um, and number one. Yeah, I don't know. I think what they did was they said, well, Oregon's closer to Dallas, so let's give them that, and and then we'll give Penn State, or we'll give Georgia. Well, they get what's left, which is the Orange Bowl, and things just didn't work out. And Notre Dame and Penn State are playing right now in Miami, and Texas and Ohio State are playing right now. But now the one thing is, even though Ohio State woke up, they blew out Tennessee at home, they blew out Oregon. Oregon was the second time they faced Oregon. That was the second time they faced Oregon this year in the Rose Bowl. Um, they they do have to play, even though Austin is a couple hours away. They are going to be playing essentially a road game in Jerry World. And the one thing is, I know Ohio State is the heavy favorite to win going into today's game. But you know what? I'm liking Texas here. I think that playing close to home, I think that helps them a lot here. And even though Ohio State, they've been clicking on all cylinders the last 2 weeks, and Texas, they kind of struggled against Arizona State, or was Arizona State up to the task? That's the question you have to ask. But they did take care of Clemson. They had trouble with Arizona State, but I kind of expect that, because Arizona State has been the Cinderella story, being the team that was supposed to finish last in their conference, but they still got to this point. But I am going to take Texas in an upset, winning winning the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, and it will be Texas versus whoever wins, according to me, in the um, national championship game in about 10 days. Damn it! I need to do one thing here. There we go. So the one thing I do is, for those that are wonder why I'm kind of stopping here for a second. What I do is, and maybe I get a Discord set up this week. I've hijacked SJ's Discord. I've using that for my betting. So Texas at plus 185 is my pick for tomorrow's Cotton Bowl game. So the semifinal game at the Cotton Bowl. So that is my college pick. Let me check one thing here. Tomorrow, man, there's a game at 11 a.m. Jesus. Remember when Friday night basketball in college used to just be the Ivy League? Yeah, I'm not touching any of those games. Okay, so we're not touching any of those games. So we are going to move. We are going to move to the NFL. And I'm not going to pick all 6 games here, but we're going to pick a few of these games here tonight, and we'll see if we can get you guys some winners and get myself back on the positive side of things here. So first is LA Chargers in Houston. Houston really, even though they won the division, they've been a disappointment in my eyes. They went 10-7 this year, but they really seem like a disappointment. CJ Stroud, to me, has taken a step back, and I really think that Jim Harbaugh has really been really helped the Chargers get to the next level there, going 11-6, doing wonders for a team that was a rudderless ship towards the end of last year. They gave up 63 points to the Raiders last year, as I mentioned earlier on in the show. But the one thing I also have to wonder, and these are some of the things that I take into account, and sometimes you talk about little things like, you know, the psyche and some of the intangibles go in there. Sometimes I go with stats, sometimes I go with feel and all that, but uh, you wonder, is there something going on, in the heads of the Chargers, flying to Houston, and then, even though they may not be necessarily in those areas that are ravaged by fires right now, you wonder, you know, are we playing for the city of LA? Are we worried about our families and stuff like that? But either way, I still think the Chargers are a better team here. And I think Jim Harbaugh, he is going to be a hard out this year. I think that his experience in both college and pro, actually getting to the Super Bowl with San Francisco. I think that's going to help the Chargers a lot here. And I'm going to take the Chargers here at -3 at -105. And we will take the Chargers to win this game. I think they win this by 6 or 7 here. So, I mean, Houston really hasn't impressed me offensively this year. Um, but, they could. And also remember, the Chargers, they gave up the least amount of points this year. They gave up 301 points, which is 2 points less than the Eagles. Um, Chargers gave up 301, and the Eagles gave up 303. And I miss the days where a team would only be in the 200s with given points, but 301 points isn't a bad total because that is uh, it's 17 points a game. So, you give up 17 points a game, you're going to win a ton of games unless your offense is total shit. But they did score 402 points, which is 23.6 points a game. So, but but the Eagles, they've scored 463 this year, which is 27.2. Um, I'll take the Chargers here. I think they're the better team here, and um, I just think Houston, they got the 10-7, but they played in a weak division, and they didn't impress me. But CJ Stroud, he could also go back, move forward, take a step forward here as well. So we'll take the Chargers -3 at -105. Let's go to the Sunday games here. Just peek into the Monday night game here real quick before I go anywhere else. Okay, so so the first game is Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I'm not going to play that game. I lean Baltimore here, but the thing is, usually these games, they're usually one possession games, even a field goal or less. You had the rare blowout game the last time they played in Baltimore a few weeks ago, so we'll see what happens, but I'm not touching that game whatsoever. Um, Now, Buffalo takes on Denver. Denver, first time they've been in the playoffs in 10 years. You wonder if um, maybe they're just, maybe they're a little ahead of schedule, or maybe, they do have a lot of guys that do not have the experience. They got Bo Nix, who probably is a year away from really wreaking havoc in the AFC, but he's got to take on the Bills. You got to take on um, Josh Allen, and I think this is, but this isn't like the Miami Dolphins going to Buffalo, even though they do tend to go to Buffalo in December. This isn't a warm weather team going to Buffalo. This is a cold weather team in Denver who, you know, could pull off the upset here, but I don't see it happening here. I think Buffalo is a much better team here. And I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills here, -8.5, -108. Buffalo advances and wins rather easily here, and I'll take them to win that game. I'm going to skip over the Eagles Packers because I usually pick every Eagles game, something on the Eagles game. I usually do that last. Um, Washington and Tampa. Now, personally, if I was the NFL, I would have made Green Bay Eagles the Sunday night game and Tampa Bay Washington the 4:30 game. But the 4:30 game on Sunday is the game that you usually put your best game on, and Washington and Tampa Bay is um, all the where all the eyes are because everybody wants to see Jaden Daniels. And SJ, hello, welcome in. Hope you're doing well out there. Hope you're staying warm because even here in Philly, it is very cold. You said hi. I saw it. Yeah, it is cold here. and it's been and with especially with the way that my apartment is set up here, I get the cold winds. I've been getting the winds 4 or 5 days at like 20, 25 miles an hour, and it has been today was especially cold, but I think the winds have subsided some here today. But we'll let's get back to the picks here. Um, Washington takes on Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield. Tampa Bay was probably looking ahead to playoff football, um, even though they should have had the blinders on, blow out the Saints, get it over with, win the game, win the division, go to the next round. They also got a little bit of help with Carolina beating Atlanta, even though their game ended up first. But I don't think, see, Washington, they can be beat with they can be beat here. Let me just check one thing here. And by the way, the game is tied in Miami 24-24. And I did tell the guys last night to take the over on that game, even though that wasn't my pick for here. But let me just see one thing here. Stats, team stats. Uh, Let me just check one thing. Um, yeah, they're actually giving up 140 yards a game rushing. They only give up about 190 in passing a game. That's net yards passing. So, you do have that. Um, they do. Um, they had 3,665 passing yards, about 215 a game. They run for a buck 54 a game. So, but you know, I just think that sometimes you get that deer in headlights thing going. And let me just check Tampa Bay here. They're giving up 97 yards a game rushing. They are giving up 243 yards per game passing. So I'll tell you what. Sometimes you got to go with the deer in headlights theory, and with the rookie quarterback, you're either going to get a quarterback who you know is not going to know what hits them, or they're going to be totally oblivious to everything. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a deer in headlights here. I'll take Tampa Bay -3 at -115. I say that they win this game by a touchdown, and it may be that Tampa Bay would be coming here to Philadelphia next week if the Eagles win this game here. Um, Minnesota and the Rams. You know what? With everything that's going on uh, in LA, this line jumped from 1 to 2.5 once they announced that this game was going to be played in Arizona as opposed to LA. So I'm not. That's a game where I'm just going to watch and enjoy the game and not deal with any picks here. But personally, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams win this outright. So if you wanted to go there with the +110, feel free to do so. Um, Now Eagles take on Green Bay, and SJ says interesting. So we get to the game that matters to me the most, and that's Eagles and Packers. Um, I think that there is some, um, some nefarious things going on both in Green Bay and in Philly. Green Bay with Jordan Love, they're not telling you too much about his elbow injury. and the Eagles were kind of coy with Jalen Hurts, even though he was a full practice participant today. So he is going to be playing, and I don't know, and I didn't investigate this enough, and I apologize for that, but I'm just wondering, does this line shoot up the 5, 6, or 7 once we know for sure that Jalen Hurts is officially out of concussion protocol? Because the fact that he was a full participant today tells you that he is 99.9% out of concussion protocol. He's just got to meet that final test tomorrow morning when he walks into the building, and they'll do the cognitive tests or whatever tests they do. They'll say, all right, he's good, he's ready to go. And I just think that with everything that's going on here, let me pull up the Packers here. Some of the stats here for the Packers. Green Bay. They only give up 215 pass yards a game. They give up 99 rushing a game, but they did have problems with Saquon Barkley in the first game, which most of the teams did all year. But the Eagles had the number one defense in the league. So, and it's the first time that they were number one in the league since 1991. But the Eagles are giving up 104 yards on the ground a game. They give up only 174 passing yards a game. So it's going to be a little tougher Green Bay here. Um, and the weather won't be a factor because both teams are used to the cold, so you won't have to worry of anything like that. Now, I'm just wondering if this 4.5 is already built into the fact that Jalen Hurts is going to be out of concussion protocol tomorrow. I don't know. I think so. But either way, I think that the Eagles will advance. I'll take the Eagles minus 4.5 at minus 115. Personally, I don't like that minus 115, but because this is the Philly Phade, I try to ignore that for a little bit. So I'm going to take the Eagles here minus 4.5 at minus 115. I'm going with 4 favorites here. That's, I don't know if that's good or not, but those are my 4 picks for this game here. I'm going with the Chargers minus 105 or minus 3 at minus 105. I'm going with the Bills minus 8.5 at minus 108. I'm going with the Tampa Bay Bucks. They are minus 3 at minus 115. And the EAGLES Eagles minus 4.5 at minus 115. Those are my 4 NFL picks. And like I've said in the past, this is the Philly Phade. Now is your decision. Do you play my picks or do you fade them? It's all up to you. So we'll see what happens this weekend, and hopefully, especially with I wouldn't mind going 1-4 this week if that one win is the Eagles covering. So, but I like the Eagles big time here, and um, hopefully we'll get to see a Eagles win and get a rematch against Tampa Bay, which would be here, and Tampa Bay would have to play in the cold. But we'll see everything that happens here coming up here on this weekend. So so I am just waiting to see what happens next here. So let me just check one thing here. Yeah, they said I did see here that Notre Dame and Penn State were both fighting the flu, according to what I saw. Um, Nothing really I shared today. Been a slow day for yours truly, but man, I had nothing. I had a really slow day on. I had a very slow day, but just to let you know, SJ, I am not watching the game, and I think I've told you why I don't watch Penn State athletics. But if I do, I can tell you off air. I don't mind telling it on air, but I have nothing to hide. But it's I'm just sitting here waiting to see what is going on with the 11 o'clock show because as soon as they start and as soon as I see the alert on my phone where you're going to call it a night, um, unless they are starting a little late. Okay. All right, all right, all right. So I will explain why we do not watch Notre Dame. We don't watch Penn State in my house or my apartment. Now, I'm a firm believer of my house, my rules. Or if I was in SJ's car or truck or whatever the hell she drives, um, when she's driving her car, she has whatever she wants on the radio if she wants something on, you know, her space. So now I will preface this. I have never been molested or anything like that, but I have crossed paths with three um, teachers or priests that I mean, I didn't investigate it too much because it was like a couple of years after I got out of high school and college that they at least um, they at least were um, they at least were accused of funny business with kids. So with everything like that, I said, I've never been a victim of that, but the one thing I do say is I've never been a victim, but it could have been me, it could have been your kid, something like that. And with everything that was going on, I just could not, in my right mind, support Penn State anymore because they enabled Jerry Sandusky and the whole Jerry Sandusky thing. It just showed how disgusting Penn State football was, allowing that on in their buildings and stuff like that. So that's why I don't bet. Even though I do bet on them, I still kind of keep track that way, but I refuse to watch their sports even 10, 15, 20 years after that verdict came into play. So that's why I do not watch Penn State football. But we are all set here. And I do appreciate everybody for coming in tonight. And I am going to send you over to Bleacher Brothers. That show has just started. Let me find them here. Um, and Captain Ron will be talking college football anarchy. So they are just starting here. And I will send you over to them. I do appreciate everybody who has watched this week. And yeah, I forgot to do that. I'm sorry, SJ. We'll work on that this weekend. I'm off this weekend, so I do appreciate everybody. And those who are watching on the other socials, you'll have to go to the college football stuff. So you'll have to go to Bleacher Brothers. Those are on Twitch. That's why you should be on my Twitch. I can send you over there, and I'm going to do that now. So have a great night, everybody. Go Birds. And I will see you Saturday for Also Eligible, on Monday for another. And Captain Ron is next.